Well, this is Baruch Fleischman here at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, and we're going on another shot here. I think this is number 5, share number 5, on the Otzrot Chaim. We're in Shar Tanta, if you've been following along. We're in perek base. Now we're going down to the bottom of this page, and it's going to be on number Vav. Interesting. So he said, Va'amlom na'asis Vav levada. So we said that in the nose is a revelation of another part of the hay, a part of the hay. Hay, we said previously, is composed of a dalet and a line. The line is a vav. So he says that it's not just a vav that comes out. Amnam avon nechleches gam came the shisha halokin, because the vav itself is divided into 6 parts also. Vehem shisha alofim. So each one of them is in the form of an aleph. Now, this is going to get a little thicker. Let's see what he says. He says, Sheish HaMidos the Zer Anpin. So Zer Anpin is actually the master of Midos. Vayotzim Menechetim, and this comes out of the nose. Einen Ne'alamas Ba'os Acha Shehi Vav. They're not hidden inside. That is, the Midos of Zer Anpin are not hidden inside of the Vav. Zu havav, the vav itself, mischalekas l'shisha halachim, is divided into 6 different portions, shehem shisha halachim, which are 6 olives. Ba'ofen sheshes hamidas dezah, in this way, that the 3 midas of zer anpin, misgalas b'shifa halachim nefrodim, is the vav itself can be divided into 6 different olives. The Hainach should call Mida Merumezes Ba'os Aleph Pratis, so that every Mida, or the Midos are really Chesed Gevurah Tiferes Netzach Hod Yisod, but we're not talking about that. We're not talking about that right now. We're just saying that the Midos are there within this letter Vav. V'sheshes Alafim Halalu Kolulim Toch Oz Vav Zu. So these 6 Midos are incorporated in the Vav in the form of olives. Now let's see. So the reason for this is ki hachamisha partzufim nechlalim ba'os hey, because the 6 partzufim, the 5 partzufim, that are part of the let me see, make sure, that are part of the letter hey, because hey is 5. Halo heim erik anpin v'abba v'ima v'zer anpin v'nuk. That's the normal what we say, and we repeat it. He repeats it. The Rav repeats this for us. He says that we learned this in the first parak here. V'heim bechinas nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, yechida. But they also can be compared to another set of ideas, which are these lights, which are called nefesh, which is the lowest light, ruach, which is a higher light. That's a light within the nefesh. Neshama is a light within the ruach, which is inside of the nefesh. And chaya, though, and yechida, which we're going to learn later on, are called makifnim. So that we know, like, and this is a fact that we take along with us as we go deeper into the study of Kabbalah, that Zer Anpin really represents the concept of Ruach. If you listen to the shir this morning, we also notice the concept of Yetzirah, also the concept of Malachim. Let's go on. V'hinei, Ba'alma hamalchus hi mizgala techila v'rak la'achar mekan mizgala chazah. So let me read this again. Generally speaking, malchus hi hamizgala techila is normally revealed first. V'rak la'achar mekan mizgala chazah. Then only after that is zer anpin revealed. Sh'hara malchus hi l'matim mikol partzufim, because malchus is below all of the partzufim. And she's revealed more than all of the rest of the partzufim. And it should be proper. The proper thing is shehi tizgala techila, that therefore it should come the dalet first. And remember, the hay that comes out of the ears, and we're talking about tamim, is composed of a dalet and a vav. Kodem sheizgala chazah should be before zah shehu gavoho, because it's higher and less physical. V'ne'elam Yosef b'menach, more hidden than she is, so therefore she should be there where it could be seen. V'chatam ifnei man is galsam raka oz vav hamerezes leva. So the reason why that is only revealed the letter vav of which refers to Zer Anpin, v'lo nizgal gama oz dalad, and we don't see the letter dalad revealed over here. Hamaramezes the Shar Partsufim really refers to all the rest of the Partsufim, Shehem the Dalit Partsufim, which are Erik, Anpin, Abba Ve'ima, that's 3, and the Nuk, which is the 4th one. Umavar Harav ki hine yeshnan chamesh bechinas hanikrayim nefesh ruach neshama chay yechida. Now he's introducing a new set of ideas, and this is the Ranchi that we have talked about in other shirim. V'heim keneged chamisha partsufim, and these 5 correspond to 5 different partsufim. Yechida keneged Erik Anpin, which is Keser. Chaya keneged Abba, which is Chochma. Neshama keneged Ima, which is Bina. Ruach keneged Zer Anpin, which is Chagad Nai. These are the 6 midos that he's talking about. The nefesh keneged Nuktaza, which is the Malchus. So the nefesh would go there. So we see these lights, and later on we're going to see that these are oros. So now we, and they are called the Naranchi. So each one of them fits into one of the Partsufim, or is labeled along with the Partsufim. V'nimsa the Fiseder Zeh, Kizer Anpin Hu Bebechinas Ruach, that in the middle, the second to the last one, which is the Vav, if you have Yud K Vav K, then the second to last one is going to be the Vav. This refers to the concept of Ruach. The Pasuk says in Bereshit, Kol Asher Nishmas Ruach Chaim Ba'apav. Everything that has the neshama, together with the ruach, which breathes life into the nose. The Horas Ki Bebechinas Ruach is to show you this, that Misgala Ba'apayim Shuhachoitim is revealed in the nostrils, which is the nose. So therefore, in this nose, Nizgala Bechinas Zer Anpin. That's where we see the concept of Zer Anpin. Now, don't be confused that the Rab is dropping in all different kinds of ideas, and he's not necessarily touching them together so that you could see how the progression works. He's more or less here introducing us to new ideas, but he will, for sure, get into the details of them and explain them out. But first, you have to see the outside, and now we have a concept of Naranchi. So then all of these this vav that comes out of the nose is divided into 6 different corners of 6 different ends, which means the spheros of Chaganai. Avol osa daled, but the letter daled nisheres os achas mechuberes, so it still remains tied on to the hay that was in the ear, and it doesn't come out. Avol os vav nechlechas the shisholofim, but the letter vav gets divided into 6 different portions. So let's see what else we learn over here as we're adding new vocabulary and new ideas. He says, "Hine mimishmalos pasuk," from the implication of the pasuk in Emor, where it says like this: "Kol asher nishmas ruach chayim." So we had this word neshama, and we had the word ruach, which has something to do with life, which is in his nose. Mashma shebechinas ruach mizgala ba'af shu hachoitem. This is teaching us that the concept of ruach, where do we find it come from? And you could see this if you learn Breslov Chassidus a little bit. You see that Rabbi Nachman brings in this concept of nachtem, or I can't remember the pasuk exactly, but the word chotem really refers to Zer Anpin. V'lechein bechinas Zer Anpin shu ruach, which is the concept of ruach, mizgalis min hachoyte daikun. There's where it's revealed from the chotem, specifically there. The ha'or yotze b'tzura shtei osil shehem daled and vav. Now the light comes out in the form of 2 letters, the letter which is daled and vav. V'ha'os vav shemizgala b'chote. Now remember again, just to repeat it because I'm listening to the language of the Tiv, and it's a little bit vague in certain places, that the original letter is a hey. And so the hey, the daled and the vav are associated, but now in the nose you see the vav. So we see that the nose and the ruach that comes out of the nose is actually divided into 6 midos, which is called Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, and that's a Chod Yesod, and we call this Chaganai, Shehu Zer Anpin. Amnam Os Daled, he Os Achas Bilvad is only 1 letter, Hakolelet Besocha Daled Bechinas, that has within it 4 different aspects. Aval enana mischalakes la'arba alofim, but it's not divided into four different alofim, olives. Elohim nisheres behelam, but the daled remains hidden. It's still part way back there, part of the hay. V'rak acher kach, but only later. Ba'oris yotzim in the peh, where we see that the lights come out of the mouth. Yotzes os daled muchulekas the daled alofim mamish, where we see there the daled comes out, and you could see there were gradations in that daled, which have four different parts to it. Ki kasher, which parts which are olives. Ki kasher or meschalek the pratim, because as the light is divided into different parts, ve'in ne'elam, and it's not concealed, v'nichlal toch as os achas bilvad, and it's only incorporated in one letter, zemora al gilui godol. So this is to tell you that there's a tremendous gilui that you can now see these olives, and let's try to understand what he's saying. So that we see that you have the division of the letter Vav in the right nostril. Kas mischalekes os Vav shebenekes smoli. So we see that the Vav is also divided up into the left nostril. V'sa kulam heim yud beis alofim. So he's telling us that there are 6 olives in the right nostril and 6 olives in the left nostril. And if you add it onto the chaytim, atzmo hare yud gimel kaminyan vav aleph vav. Now let's look at this more carefully. He's going to explain it to us again. He says if you have 6 olives in the night and then in the nostril on the right side, you have the 6 olives on the nostril on the left side, that makes 12. That makes 12. And if you add in the concept of the nose itself, it comes to 13. 13 is like the 13 meters of Rachamim, but you could also see it if you spell out the letter Vav, Vav, Aleph, Vav, that's also Vav, and Vav is 12 plus 1 is 13. Let's see what the Tiv says on this. This is, the Tiv says, Ba'oras ha'choitim, when we look at the lights that are coming out of the nose, Yotza or Makif Minekiv Yomim, so we have a Makif that comes from the right nostril, Ba'or Panimi Minekiv small, and then we have a panimi distant, just like we saw in the ozon, and as we have said, that comes out of the left nostril. So it's like a geshem shahoya ba'oras ha'ozon. It's the same thing like you had in the lights of the ear. Leficha geshem sha'oz vav shebechoitim. So since the vav that's in the nose, that is in the right side of the nose, neslachas the shisha olofim, it divides into 6 olives. Kana oz vav shebetzad smoli. So also we see that the vav that's on the left side, this chalka afhi the shisha alofim, is also divided into 6 alofim. The nimsa lefi says, so it comes out according to this, sheyeshnem bechotem, that in the nose itself, yud beis alofim, there are 12 olives. Shisha alofim betzad yamim, the shisha alofim betzad small. V'im mosif od aleph. So if you add another aleph, achas, and what does that aleph come from? He said that aleph comes connected the chotem atzma, corresponding to the nose. To the nose itself. Nimsa sakulam yud gimel alofim. So we see here that coming out of the nose of Ak, we have 13 olives. V'hu kaminyan vav aleph vav, and this is the way it is, that as the vav spreads out and is spelled in a milui, that comes to the number 13. Shola b'gematria yud gimel. So he said, look, Aman yizboyer she'ein vav alavav zuma remes of the shem sag hakoilel. So he says that this is not really a remes to that. Let's go on. V'chein shnei havavim elu imachoitim atzmos. So let's take these 2 vavim. The 2 vavim that are coming out of the 2 nostrils. Elu imachoitim together with the nose. Shetzirasu aleph kanoida, which has a form of an aleph as is known. Now, we don't know that yet. Ki shnei nikve hachoitim heim shnei yudin. So he says, how do we know this? Because the openings, the nostrils themselves, are in the form of a yud. In other places in Kabbalah, and the Rav explains that a dot is the same thing as a yud. So dots are yuds, are the tens. We'll see this in other places. And then there's a wall, so you have a yud on the top, and then you have a wall, and then there's a wall that mapsig benehem that interrupts between the right side and the left side, hu tsuras vav, which is in the form of a vav. So he said, v'harei tsuras aleph, v'im hashnei vavim. So now we see that the aleph, together with the two vavs, hare vav aleph vav, that's how you get to the concept of 13. Vav aleph vav is we have the vav on the right, the vav on the left, and we have the line in the middle. Let's see how this the Tivs explains this. V'yeshno remez noisef el ha'or hayotzim min ha'chaitim. So now there's another remez about the light that comes out of the nose. Shetzurasu ketzuras vav aleph vav, that has a form which is in the form of a vav aleph vav. V'huki shtei osios vav elus, because these two letters vav shenisgala b'chaitim, that are revealed in the chaitim. Ima chaitim atzmo, with the nose itself, shuhu tsuras aleph, which is also in the form of an aleph, because again, you have the opening on the right, which is a yud, an opening on the left, which is a yud, and a bar between them. So we're going to say like this, here's one opening, here's another opening at the bottom, and then you have the diagonal vav. Now we'll get into this more. Azai he mashlimim sheyehu vav aleph vav shuhu kaminyan yud gimel. And so now you see that this aleph can actually divide it into the number 13, because the one yud represents 6, and then you have the line which is 1 referring to the nose itself. Now this is an example of how the Rav can divide up words and letters and sing the music of Kabbalah. So he said, "V'chatam shachachaitim kud suras aleph." So why do we say that he wants to break it down and explain it to us again? What's the reason why the nose is in the form of an aleph? And he says, Ki kol os aleph, every aleph, morkeves ma'os yud lamala va'os yud lamata. So it's a grafting of the yud on the top, and you see there's a little yud on the bottom. So it's grafted together from the yud lamala va'os yud lamata, va'os vav omedes benehem, and then there's a vav that stands in between them, kakav natui. It's like a tilted or a diagonal line, which is the concept of Zeranpin. So in this way, so the two nostrils, shemisham yotzim oras hachaitim, which is the place that the lights of the chaitim come out from, hamakifim v'chabanimim, which has the right side of the lights, which are called makifim, and the left side has the lights, which are called the panimim. Hey, meramazim the shtei yudim shebaos aleph. There are reference to the two yudin which are in the name aleph, baos aleph. And see, so since every opening is in the form of a yud, and between the two of them, yeshna koisel, there's a wall, that's the bridge of the nose, which interrupts or that separates the two, which has the form of a vav, which we said is on a diagonal. So that between them, that you have the concept of the aleph in the nose. Remember that the nose itself, he says, is an aleph. So he says, "V'kasher nitzra nitzaref aleichem eshnei havavim." So when you add together these two vavim, hayotze mishnei nekavim, that comes out from the two openings shebachaitim, that's the nostrils, shehem yud beis alafim, because we said before each one of them has 6 alephs in it, which is we just says is the concept of 6 noses. Hare im heim olim yachtav kaminyan vav aleph vav. So if you put them all together, they come to the number 13. Shemisbar begematria yud gimel. And here's the last one we're going to do today. Okay, so I had a little interruption there because I am doing business and I have calls coming in, so I have to stop. So let's go over to number yud aleph and we'll start it again. So we're talking about the word lamala in Kabbalah also means panemius. So you just have to remember that, because of course it is up. It means it came first. So there's lots of different ways they think of outer space. There is really no up or down, but there is a succession. So here the succession is that we're talking about this concept called Adam Kadmon. Adam Kadmon comes first. And v'hu lohoros ki lamala bebechinas harosh. When we're talking about the rosh of Adam Kadmon, Shesham makom hamochim, this is where the actual energy from the Ein Sof is found. There you find who the Shem of the Chavavaya the Yudin. So he's going to say this idea. There is where you find the name Av, and it has a Havaya of Yudin. V'kan hu Shem Sag, but here we're talking about the name Sag. Kein hefresh bein Havaya the Av Havayas the Sag. Rak b'milui os havav kenoida. Now let me translate it, and then let's look at what he said. He says the only difference between the name Av, which I think he's going to spell it out in the Tiv, and the name Sag, is the fact that there is the spelling of the Vav. In the name Av, it's spelled Vav Yud Vav, and the name Sag, it's spelled Vav Aleph Vav. And he says that this, therefore, is referring over back to this Vav Aleph Vav, which refers to the nose. That's what it seems like to me. Now let's read the Tiv and let's see what he's talking about. And here we're talking about, there is a lot of vagueness here. There's a lot of vagary here. And the reason why is we're talking about something which is not physical and not easy to understand because it's not attached to anything that we're used to. So therefore we're working with letters and concepts and different ideas that the Rav and the Tiv are introducing to us. So the reason why coming out for the nose is this letter Vav. Hu mishum shebarosh, because when we're talking about the top of the head, and here he means the karkafta, which is the skull, shabo nimsayim amochi, because inside of the skull of Ak are the mochin. Now, what is the mochin? Mochin, of course, means brain matter, but what it means is the source of the energy that is being focused from the Ein Sof Baruch Hu to come down into the lower world. So that juice, or that energy, is called the mochin. Sham hu Shem Av. On the karkafta on the skull is the name Av. Shuchav Havaya b'milu Yudin, which is like this, Kazeh Yud Vav Dalet Ke Yud Vav Ke Yud. Ve'ele b'chotem is gal Shem Sag, but in the nose we're really talking about the name Sag because chotem, which is nose, is a gematria Sag. Shuchav Havaya b'milu Yudin, and it's Havaya it's called the name Havaya b'milu Yudin. But the Havaya b'milu Yudin also with an aleph, kazeh. So you notice there's going to be a difference in the Vav. Yud Vav Daled Ke Yud, Vav Aleph Vav Ke Yud. So this has a different gematria. So this over here is the Vav Yud Vav, here's the Vav Aleph Vav. So all the differences that we find between these two names, Halalu, who Rak Ba'os Vav is only in the letter Vav itself. Ki b'shem Av, hu Vav Yud Vav, and he's spelling it out for us really nicely, the Tiv. B'shem Sag, hu Vav Aleph Vav. V'lechein nirmaz Vav Aleph Vav v'chaytim, so there this concept of the Vav Aleph Vav, which is a gematria 13, that's found over here in the nose. The Chorush Shebechaytim is to teach us and show us that in the nose, Mizgal Shem Sag. That's where you see the name Sag revealed because the Vav Aleph Vav is part of the same name Sag, Bishlemos, when it's in its complete form. Below Shem Av and not the name Av, and that is the shir today. Baruch Fleischman, Tikkun Elevator.